Hey, this is Notser, and we're in the Missouri. This is on the map, Sea of Fortune. Standard Missouri build, Montana, Iowa, Alabama, North Carolina. You pretty much know this build. Better AA protection, better concealment. The higher tier, you can get better accuracy, but yeah. The main reason for the video is to discuss the state of the game and to really drum up support for Sea of Fortune, because this map feels like, even in the state that we are, where some teams, some maps are blowouts, Tears of the Desert, or just stagnant war that really has no decisive battle, Tears of the Desert, to Sea of Fortune, where I really do enjoy it. It feels very natural to move back and forth, and I think they've done a great job with this map, and it's held up very well after the stealth fire changes and all that stuff. And I'm really going to get down to why I think that is. So we're in the Missouri. Obviously, I spawned on the eastern side. I'm just trying to use an island to block most of the enemy's line of sight. That's the main goal of pretty much every single battle. Either you use distance or islands to block the enemy's ability to impact you. Now, why do I think Sea of Fortune is such a success in the current state of the game? And maybe it's just because I get good games in it, you know. Everyone else could say, "Oh, Sea of Fortune's terrible." But I think that the reason Sea of Fortune actually works out very well is because the player base in general spawns very close to helpful islands. There isn't a lot of time to travel to get to the islands themselves. You can actually duck in and have a pretty established front that the enemy can't either view you or exploit. Now, some maps you'll say, well, islands, they promote passive play. I think islands actually promote active play. Anytime there are no islands to allow for an aggressive push forward or backwards, you get players who have no intention of changing their position. Like a bow on Des Moines, or, you know, camping about an Atlanta. These are examples of ships that just camp behind an island. And I don't really see that as the case with Sea of Fortune. Anytime someone wants to set up behind an island, you can somewhat get a fairly reasonable angle to punish it. And I just really enjoy 80 to 90% of my battles on this map. It feels like, yeah, sure, you have obviously these games where it's completely decisive, but in general, one side of the map is going to have overloaded, and they're separate enough either from distance or just the thickness of islands to block line of sight, or, you know, whatever, or block shots, period. Even a single smoke or two is enough to clog up the line of sight, at least, of a territory. I think it's all these things. The different flanks actually promote different strengths, winning or losing. You can't just go to a single flank. It kind of feels like there's 3, maybe 4 potential, and people who run away distance-wise are actually punished. I have found. I don't think that anyone who pulls back has had a lot of success on Sea of Fortune. It always seems like they're the last ones to die, or maybe they're the most insignificant part of the game, but I don't ever feel like they're getting rewarded for pulling back from the islands themselves, and I love that. I adore that. I think we need more of that. So, enemy apparently is going to be moving forward on the eastern flank. I have no intention of going up against them. I'm going to be moving to another flank and see if I can punish. But while we're doing that, I decided to fire on this Bismarck. Now, when you're aiming at a target behind an island, and we take them out, of course, when you're aiming at a target behind an island, you really need to visualize the target existing without seeing it. You also need to do a quick range check, so that's why I always bounce. You need to have the cursor on the same plane as the target that you're trying to locate, so you get a good gauge of how much you need to lead. It's pretty straightforward from that standpoint, and we were lucky. Especially when a target is that low, you can afford to... What is this guy doing? Kiev, why are you backing up in front of teammates? A Missouri can easily punish that, and of course we do. Please do not back up as a destroyer in front of your enemy. Thank you. But Sea of Fortune has so many islands that they're not really... It doesn't feel like an overbearing island like on North. Some of the islands are so big that multiple ships can camp behind the islands. You know, it's ridiculous sometimes the amount of ships that camp. On Sea of Fortune, it kind of feels like, you know, 2, maybe 3, potentially. But in general, the islands are just large enough to conceal a ship or cut some line of sight lanes so you can't just be seen all the time. Enemy Ibuki, broadside, hoping to punish, hoping to get a citadel. Don't really get it. We overpen 3 times. It's just the way it works out. So, the enemy team, a little bit of their front has stalled, but it's still a close game. They're 1 ship down. They have a base on us. There are a couple cruisers on the western flank, and I do intend to try and exploit the fact that they're cruisers, as every good battleship should. But I'm detected by radar, so I was like, the only viable location these guys could be is somewhere in that distance, and he's not exactly where I thought he was, but he is that close. And radar does show me that there's a couple cruisers that are trying to set up and use that little gap against us. Now, this is a good example of what I like about the map. That gap is good and bad. It's such a strong choke that it provides great cover for people there. However, it's such a strong choke that it denies line of sight for people there, and they rely on other people, other ships, to provide that. And if they blindly go out, they're dead, and they have to go out in a pretty strict manner because of how narrow it is. So it's set up perfectly for someone to punish if they can avoid being seen. The enemy Tirpitz, I expected him to fully turn 90 degrees and go straight east. He didn't, of course, so we landed somewhere not exactly at the most ideal location. But in general, as the Missouri, what the heck kind of dispersion was that? Every which way, one was right on target. As a Missouri, you just want to try and punish anyone who shows a little too much sign. Just like I did, 10,000. And as I'm moving over here, I'm just trying to gain ground. Maybe a friendly can help me with the Tirpitz. Maybe he over-angles. You never know. Weirder things have happened, and I want to be a part of this weirdness. So, yep, he is indeed showing a lot. Looks like a cruiser did indeed try to come and assist his teammate. However, islands are in the way, baby. You can't do anything against me, and I intend to try and punish a player who is overextended against a battleship. If he's 12 or 11 kilometers out, hell yeah, that's easy mode. I'm going to kill you so hard. The Missouri is ruthless. Bismarck's doing a good job against the Tirpitz. Enemy cruisers can't engage me. I can't engage the Tirpitz, of course. And I'm ready to go. Punish this guy if he brings out. And yep, sure enough, he doesn't really care. So we're just going to take him out. Once he's out of the picture, that breaks line of sight. These cruisers are completely blind. I have radar. Now, of course, it's a Donskoy. He has radar too. But I don't know that he wants to use it. Maybe he figures, I know where the guy is. I know what he's doing. If you know where the guy is and you know what he's doing, you wouldn't be doing this. I can easily look over this island and see a broadside target. I'm going to try and rotate around it as quickly as I can. The thought is, of course, let's citadel this guy. Why not? You know, citadels are just, they're like candy in the Missouri. You could just give them out every which way, and of course he's got pretty good angling now. He's making a break for the gap. He's got to angle, either decide to take the full-on brunt and maybe run into the island, or soften the angle to avoid running into the island. And I think he decided to actually run into the island. So yeah, he is not moving. And this is really bad for him, of course. It's really bad. He's got to deal with moving slowly through the gap. It looks like he's sort of broken away, but he also has to decide, am I actually going to turn? No, there's the island. Oh, big damage. You're not getting out of this alive, my friend. You should have chosen a different strategy. And I do my radar. I just want to get a good idea. Where's the Edinburgh? Is he going to potentially use torpedoes? The Dunskoy torpedoes are actually pretty handy, although his angle is not. They can reach out to, I think, 8 kilometers. But he's so low. One more big salvo. Yeah, of course he's dead. And remember, Edinburgh. What's unique about the British? Single torpedo launches. You don't want to sail consistently. You want to sort of change your speed, change your direction. You really want the British to send the torpedoes, of course, as if you're going a consistent speed in a consistent direction, but you're not. And it looks like he has moved out of the area. At least his last known position was moving south, so I figured he might be seen going across this gap really quickly, and oh, he is. Point, shoot, fire. And boy, it was a really small window of visibility. We had to do it that quick. I'm just thankful it worked out. And he's like, almost got out. Almost. The key word, almost. And it worked out pretty good in this game. I really like the island coverage. I like how different each point is. You've got islands that are close, far away. I do like the constricted feel. I think Wargaming needs to embrace it a little bit more than these wide open areas that, you know, maybe it's less ideal for torpedoes, but torpedo systems can be worked in any scenario. A wide open expanse really only punishes people who want to be aggressive and cruisers. Let's face it, everything punishes cruisers. So it's just really awkward seeing so many maps where people just sit away from islands, they sit away from the action. All they're hoping to do is outrange, outconceal, and it just never works. And it encourages such a passive play style. It just doesn't feel good. Now this game, it became a blowout. Well, not a blowout, but it became a lot further than it was, what, 5-4? But we got some quick kills on targets that didn't trade at all. That's a great scenario for any ship, but it's especially nice for me. We are in Kraken Unleashed, which is great. But I didn't really do anything spectacular. I saw a flank where the enemy was overloading it. I used the island in my escape path. I discovered a couple cruisers that did not have the brute strength or a destroyer protecting them, and I exploited the fact that they don't want any part of me, man. They don't want anything to do with big battleships. And that's it. I really have enjoyed... I'm honestly trying to think if I've ever disliked a particular game and, oh, the Ibuki spotted. Just going to lead the target. Going to do a little bit of chain firing, hoping that he maintains the same distance, same angle. The shells look good, fly true. We, of course, don't see anything. And, oh, yes, it flew true. That was a pretty sick kill. I think we earned Confederate on that shot, too. Yeah, we did. Confederate, Kraken Unleashed, 6 kills, 2 base captures, 128,000 damage done, 1.3 million. Easy game in the Missouri. But you take advantage of those islands. You know who you can punish, cruisers. That's what happens. Ends up happening. The team did a good job holding the flank. You know, it was just a fun game. 2,528 base XP. Great game, of course. I think it's Akizuki. Great game as well. A couple enemy team members did a good job for their guys, but, you know, we came out on head. Punished hard. No mercy for cruisers. I'm sorry, guys. If you play cruisers, I'm sorry. No mercy. All my damage, AP, of course, 1.2 million shot at us. It was just an exciting game where we were able to pick and choose the enemy, you know, pick and pop, take them out. Accurate guns, fast ship, good turret traverse. That's the Missouri in a nutshell. I hope you enjoyed seeing the Missouri on Sea of Fortune, one of my favorite maps. What's your favorite map? I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you next time. Look at how much money we made.